And we're back for part 2 of the 80s review show. So, let's get into it. So, this first topic is we're going to discuss a great actor by the name of Mr. Dan Aykroyd. Now, Dan Aykroyd is not only a freaking genius, but he is funny as hell. And he is one of my favorite actors, and we are going to talk about him in this video. So, we're going to go down some lists of some movies that he's been involved in. Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Nothing But Trouble. The Great Outdoors. Spies Like Us. Just to name a few. What more could I say about Dan Aykroyd? Well, he was also in several other movies with John Candy. He was also in a few movies with, honestly, every major 80s actor, honestly, that was comedian. In as far as popularity goes, I mean, he hosted numerous shows. He was on children's TV shows. He was in an alien documentary. And what's most important is that he's still around today, and he's still doing what he does, and that's making everybody laugh and being entertained. So, the second person we're going to talk about on this list is Rick Moranis. So we're going to go into Spaceballs, Strange Brew, Parenthood, Ghostbusters. I think he was in Ghostbusters 2. I believe so, yes. Ghostbusters 2. So, not to mention later on, obviously, he was also in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, all those movies, the sequels. He's done lots of entertaining things. He's done, SNL specials. He's done stand-up comedy specials. He's done lots of work outside of the movie industry as far as producing movies and working on them. Very funny guy. I respect him enormously. He's just incredibly talented, and he deserves what he is what he's worked for in his career. So with that, there's a movie that I really want to talk about, and that's The Blues Brothers. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, I think that if you've never seen The Blues Brothers, it's a great movie. It has lots of action in it, lots of comedy, great plot, wonderful 80s film. If you guys want to check it out. The next movie I want to talk about is Weird Science. It's got Bill Paxton in it, Kelly LeBrock, which I must add that she looks really good in that movie. She does a really great job. So I definitely do not blame anybody for wanting to watch that movie over and over again. I can't really say anything more about that movie other than it is action-packed, lots of humor, lots of great comedy in it, lots of cameos as well. So let's talk about Spaceballs next. Again, great cast. Everybody in the movie, honestly, is hilarious. John Candy's character is great. Great. He's in that movie. And not to mention that lots of cameos from other people from other movies. So, we're going to go to Chevy Chase. And let's talk about all the vacation movies. Those are primarily what he was known for. He was also in a movie called Foul Play, Fletch 1 and 2, which I will be watching eventually and probably reviewing those as well. I haven't seen those all the way through. But yeah, I think that John Candy and Chevy Chase are two actors who should be respected for all the work that they've done throughout their careers. Um, Everybody on this list, honestly, should be because of all the movies and hits that they did. Demi Moore, Ghost, Nothing But Trouble. She's in a lot of other '80s movies as well. She was another one who was a great actress in the '80s. I think that she should be talked about in this. Um, and not to mention, she did a lot of guest appearances. She was even in an episode of Tales from the Crypt. So the next person I'm going to talk about is Madonna. Now, League of Our Own was actually not a bad movie. I mean, it just depends on what you want to really watch. But Suddenly Susan is also, or Desperately Seeking Susan. I'm sorry, is a wonderful movie that she was in. It's really action packed. It's one of her better movies. Um, yeah, I think that she was in some pretty decent movies as well. Um, Let me think here. Okay, now I'm going to talk about my top four picks for female singers from the 1980s. Um, the first is Pat Benatar. I mean, she had so many hits throughout the 80s. I mean, I can't think of one bad song that she ever did, honestly. Um, Number two is going to be Madonna. Madonna definitely needs to be at that stage because she did a lot, not only in music but also in movies, and she was one of the basically well-known artists in that generation. Tina Turner is after that. Tina Turner had a lot of great hits. She was even did songs for soundtracks. She was even on SNL and a few other shows as well. Where she did her singles and performances. The last person we're going to talk about is Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper, uh, again, great talented singer, lots of hits. She was well known throughout all over the world. I mean, she performed, for God's sakes, in how many countries? She was on one of the very first MTV uh, documented TV shows where they interviewed like musical artists. Um, so I think that those are some things that should be talked about. Um, and the last thing that we're going to talk about are, what do you think are the top video games of the '80s? Do you guys have any top rated lists? I have three games that I want to talk about. The first one is the original Pac-Man. I don't know who's never played that. I think that should be on the list. The second one I'm going to talk about is Mario, the first game. That was always a popular game. Space Invaders is definitely next. Um, so there we go. Those are my top favorites. Um, Comment below in the section and give me your top favorite Dan Aykroyd, Rick Moranis movies, John Candy, Chevy Chase, um, or any other favorite movies or artists that you have, or even video games if you guys can come up with some other ones. So this is part two of the '80s review show. I just wanted to come back on here and do another list, which I've done that, and I really like doing this. I have fun doing it. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'm gonna get out of your hair.